You've been taught a lie so pervasive it has become the default programming for the modern man, the virtue of being nice. It's a comfortable, safe-sounding word, a word praised by society, but it is also a cage, a self-imposed prison of agreeableness that is costing you your power, your respect, and your peace of mind. What if I told you that your relentless effort to be nice is the very thing holding you back, that it's the root of your quiet frustration and the reason you feel undervalued? Today, we don't just talk about this, we dismantle it. We expose the hidden cost of being nice and replace it with something infinitely more powerful, the Stoic art of the boundary. This is not a lecture on ancient Rome. This is an operating manual for your own mind, a blueprint understood by a very small percentage of men. If you've ever felt that doing everything right still leads to the wrong results, tell me in the comments, what is the single biggest frustration you face as a nice guy? Let's be clear about the man we're discussing. He's the one who says yes when he means no. He avoids conflict at all costs. He prioritizes everyone else's comfort over his own integrity. In his mind, he is being kind, agreeable, a good person. But externally, the world doesn't reward this. He is overlooked for promotions. He finds himself in one-sided relationships. He builds a deep well of resentment that simmers beneath his pleasant exterior. This is the paradox of the modern, nice guy. He follows the social script he was given, but the script is flawed. It equates agreeableness with virtue. It mistakes a lack of boundaries for kindness. This is where the Stoic mindset becomes not just useful, but essential. The Stoics understood that true virtue comes from within. It is not defined by the approval of others. It is forged in self-respect, discipline, and the courage to live by your own principles, even if it makes others uncomfortable. This is our entry point, the gap between the man you are and the man you could be. 1. The Great Deception. Kindness versus niceness. We must first draw a line in the sand, a distinction that changes everything. Kindness is a choice. It is a conscious act of giving, helping, or showing compassion from a position of strength and abundance. You give because you choose to, not because you need something in return. Niceness, on the other hand, is a compulsion. It's a strategy born from fear. Fear of rejection, fear of conflict, fear of being disliked. The nice guy isn't necessarily a good man. He is often a scared man, bartering his compliance for a sliver of validation. He hopes that if he causes no waves, he will be safe. But the Stoic knows that the ocean of life is full of waves. To seek a life without them is to seek a life of passivity and weakness. The first step to reclaiming your power is to analyze your own actions. Are they born from a genuine choice to be good, or from a desperate need to be liked? This distinction is the key that unlocks the cage. 2. The currency of resentment. Every time you say yes when your entire being screams no, you make a small withdrawal from your bank of self-respect. You might think the transaction is harmless. You've avoided a difficult conversation. You've made someone happy for a moment. But there is a hidden fee on every one of these transactions. That fee is resentment. It begins as a quiet whisper, a flicker of irritation. But it compounds. It grows into a bitter, corrosive force that poisons your relationships and your perception of the world. You start to see others as takers, the world as unfair. The Stoic understands this internal economy. He knows that external actions have internal consequences. The momentary discomfort of saying no is a small price to pay for a lifetime of inner peace and integrity. The slow-burning acid of resentment, however, will dissolve your soul from the inside out. It's the ultimate hidden cost of being nice. You trade your long-term peace for someone else's short-term comfort. 3. The invitation to disrespect. Imagine a fortress with no walls and no guards. It is not a fortress. It is a ruin waiting to be plundered. A man without boundaries is this fortress. His time, his energy, his resources, and his attention are all available for the taking. His compulsive niceness is not perceived as strength or kindness by the world. It is perceived as a weakness. It is an open invitation for others to push, to take more, to test how far they can go. People by nature respect strength, not physical strength, but the strength of character, the strength to have principles and to stand by them. When you fail to set a boundary, you are non-verbally communicating that your own needs are less important than the desires of others. You are teaching people how to treat you. The Stoic reverses this. He builds his inner citadel first. He decides his own values. And he understands that a firm, calm no is one of the most powerful and respectable statements a man can make. 4. The dichotomy of control, your operating system. This is the absolute foundation of Stoic power. If you grasp this, you grasp everything. The ancient Stoic Epictetus made it simple. Some things are within our control, and some are not. Within our control are our judgments, our intentions, our actions, our responses. Outside of our control are everything else. The opinions of others, the outcome of events, the feelings of your partner, the traffic on the way to work. The nice guy lives his entire life trying to manage things outside of his control. He tries to control how others see him by being agreeable. He tries to control their emotional state by placating them. It is a losing battle. It is the definition of insanity. The Stoic focuses his entire energy only on what he can control, his own actions and his own integrity. He sets a boundary not to control the other person's reaction, but because it is the right and virtuous action for him to take. Their anger, their disappointment, their tantrum, that is their business. It is outside his control and therefore outside his concern. 5. Virtue as the sole good. Why do you do the things you do? The nice guy does them for external rewards, a smile, thank you. The absence of an argument. He seeks payment in the currency of external validation. The Stoic finds this logic flawed to its core. For the Stoic, the only true good is virtue, acting with courage, wisdom, justice, and temperance. The reward for a virtuous act is the act itself. The reward for setting a necessary boundary is the integrity of having done so. It is not the outcome. It is not the other person's reaction. This recalibrates your entire motivation. You are no longer a servant to the whims and emotions of others. You become the master of your own character. When you set a boundary, you are not doing it to be mean. You are doing it to be just to yourself. You are acting with courage, the courage to face potential discomfort. This is the path to unshakable self-esteem, because it is built on a foundation you control completely, your own character. 6. The myth of selfishness. The moment you begin to set boundaries, you will be met with a predictable accusation. You're being selfish. This word is the primary weapon used to keep people-pleasers in their cages. It is designed to trigger your guilt and force you back into compliance. Let's be clear. There is a vast difference between being selfish and practicing self-care or self-respect. Selfishness is taking from others without regard for their well-being. Setting a boundary is protecting your own well-being so that you're not depleted, resentful, and useless to yourself and others. A drained battery cannot charge another device. A man who runs himself into the ground to please everyone is not a pillar of his community. He is a cautionary tale. The Stoic understands that his first duty is to maintain his own fortress, his own mind. Only from a position of strength, order, and inner peace can he be of genuine service to others. Protecting your energy is not selfish. It is a prerequisite for being a truly effective and good man. 7. Amor fati, loving the backlash. So you've set a boundary. You said no to a request that violated your time or principles, and the other person gets angry. They push back. They try to guilt trip you. What now? The typical person resists this reality. They think, this shouldn't be happening. Why can't they just understand? The Stoic practices amor fati, a love of fate. He doesn't just tolerate the backlash, he accepts it as a necessary and even welcome part of the process. This friction is a test. It is the fire that forges the steel of your character. The Stoic says, "Of course they are pushing back. They are used to me complying. This negative reaction is a sign that my boundary is working. It is a sign that I am changing the dynamic. By embracing the discomfort, you strip it of its power over you. The anger of others is just weather. It is an external event that you can observe without being swept away by it. This is a superpower." 8. The power of the pause. The nice guy is reactive. A request comes in, and an immediate yes comes out, driven by an impulse to avoid the discomfort of a potential no. The Stoic is responsive, not reactive. He has mastered the art of the pause. When a request is made, especially a significant one, he does not answer immediately. He creates a space between the stimulus and his response. In that space lies his freedom. He can say, "Let me think about that and get back to you," or "I need to check my schedule." This pause does two things. First, it signals to the other person that you are taking your own time and commitment seriously. It communicates value. Second, it gives you the crucial moments you need to consult your own principles, not your fear. Is this request aligned with my goals? Is it just to myself and my existing commitments? The pause is a simple, practical tool that breaks the cycle of compulsive agreeableness. It is a micro act of self-respect. 9. Crafting your no. A no does not have to be aggressive or rude. In fact, a Stoic no is typically calm, clear, and concise. The mistake many people make when first setting boundaries is over-explaining. They give a long list of excuses and justifications, trying to soften the blow. This is a mistake. It signals a lack of conviction. It invites negotiation and attempts to dismantle your reasons. A powerful no is simple. "I'm not able to do that. I can't commit to that right now. No, that doesn't work for me." You do not need to apologize for protecting your time or energy. You do not need to provide a complex alibi. A simple, firm, and respectful refusal is sufficient. The other person's inability to accept your no is a problem with their boundaries, not yours. Remember the dichotomy of control. Your job is to deliver the message clearly and respectfully. Their emotional reaction is their job to manage. 10. The physicality of boundaries. Your boundaries are not just verbal, they are physical. A man who respects himself carries himself differently. Think of your posture. Are you slumped, making yourself smaller, trying to be unobtrusive? Or do you stand tall, occupying your own space with quiet confidence? Think of your eye contact. Do you look away, avoiding connection, signalling submission? Or do you hold a steady, calm gaze? These are not trivial details. Your nonverbal communication is constantly broadcasting your level of self-respect. When you inhabit your body with confidence, you create a natural buffer zone around you. People are less likely to make unreasonable demands of a person who looks like they have a strong centre of gravity. Practice this. Walk into a room as if you have a right to be there. Sit at a table with purpose. Your body language can set a boundary before you ever have to say a word. 11. Premeditatio malorum. Rehearsing the worst. The Stoics had a practice called premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of evils. This isn't about being negative, it's about being prepared. Before setting a difficult boundary, take a moment to imagine the worst-case scenario. What are you truly afraid of? Are you afraid they will yell? Are you afraid they will call you selfish? Are you afraid they will end the relationship? Visualize it in detail. Then ask yourself, and then what? Can I survive that? Almost always, the answer is yes. You can survive being yelled at. You can survive being misjudged. You can survive the end of a relationship that was conditional on your total compliance. By mentally rehearsing the worst, you rob it of its emotional power. You walk into the situation not with fear, but with a calm acceptance of all possible outcomes. This mental armour makes you incredibly resilient and far more likely to follow through with setting the boundary you need. 12. The boundary in relationships. This is often the most difficult arena. The nice guy believes that his value in a relationship is his agreeableness. He becomes a human utility, a provider of convenience and comfort, hoping to be loved in return. This is the blueprint for a failed relationship. True connection is built on respect, not utility. And respect requires two whole individuals, not one person and their accommodating shadow. Setting boundaries in a relationship is not an act of aggression. It is an act of clarity. It is saying, I love you and I also love myself. This is who I am. This is what I need. This is what I will not tolerate. A healthy partner will respect this. They may not like it in the moment, but they will respect the strength it takes. An unhealthy partner will react with manipulation or threats. And in that case, the boundary has served its highest purpose. It has revealed the true nature of the relationship, giving you the information you need to make a wise decision. 13. Professional boundaries, the end of overservicing. The workplace is a breeding ground for boundary violations. The nice guy is the one who always stays late, takes on extra projects without extra pay, and never says no to his boss or colleagues. He thinks this makes him a valuable team player. In reality, it makes him a reliable doormat. It sets a precedent that his time is less valuable than others. A Stoic professional understands his worth. He sets clear boundaries around his work hours and his responsibilities. He communicates his limits clearly and without apology. I can have that done by Friday at 5, but I won't be able to work on it over the weekend. This is not laziness. This is professionalism. It shows that you manage your time effectively and respect your own need for recovery. The paradox is that by setting these boundaries, you often gain more respect, not less. People see you as a serious professional, not just an eager-to-please subordinate. 14. The energy vampire audit. Not all people are created equal in terms of their effect on your energy. Some people, energy vampires, consistently drain you. They are masters of the subtle demand, the guilt trip, the one-sided conversation. The nice guy is their primary target because he offers no resistance. A crucial Stoic practice is to conduct a regular audit of the people in your life. Who leaves you feeling energized and respected? Who leaves you feeling drained, resentful, and used? Be ruthlessly honest. The Stoic principle of justice applies to how you allocate your most precious, non-renewable resource, your time and attention. You are not obligated to offer an infinite supply of your energy to those who only take. You may need to create distance. You may need to have a difficult conversation. You may need to end a connection. This is not cruelty. This is wise management of your inner resources, a vital part of maintaining your fortress. 15. Forgiving your past self. As you start to understand these concepts, you may feel anger or regret toward your past self. You might think of all the times you allowed yourself to be taken advantage of, all the opportunities you missed because you were too afraid to speak up. The Stoic does not waste time on unproductive regret. Your past self was operating with the knowledge and tools he had at the time. He was likely doing what he thought was right. What he was taught was the path to acceptance. Instead of judgment, practice Stoic acceptance. View your past not as a series of failures, but as a collection of data. Those experiences taught you the high cost of having no boundaries. They are the reason you are listening to this now. Thank your past self for the lessons. He walked through the fire so that you could learn to command it. Now, with new knowledge, you have a duty to act differently. The past is for learning, the present is for acting. 16. The inner citadel, your mental fortress. Marcus Aurelius spoke frequently of the inner citadel, a mental fortress into which you can retreat at any time to find peace and clarity. This is the ultimate goal of Stoic practice. Your boundaries are the outer walls of this citadel. They protect you from the chaos and unreasonable demands of the external world. But the strength of the walls depends on the strength of the citadel itself. This inner strength is built through daily practice, reflecting on your principles, managing your emotions, focusing only on what you can control. A man with a strong inner citadel is not easily swayed by praise or criticism. He doesn't need external validation because he has a deep well of self-respect. His niceness is replaced by a calm, unshakable core of strength. He can then interact with the world from a place of genuine goodwill, not a place of neediness. 17. The role of discomfort. Modern society sells us the fantasy of a life free from discomfort. We are taught to seek pleasure and avoid pain at all costs. That nice guy pathology is a direct result of this. He avoids the discomfort of conflict, the discomfort of saying no, the discomfort of potential disapproval. The Stoic takes the opposite approach. He understands that discomfort is the price of growth. Voluntary exposure to discomfort builds resilience. Setting a boundary is a voluntary act of choosing the short-term discomfort of a difficult conversation over the long-term, corrosive pain of resentment and self-betrayal. See discomfort not as an enemy, but as a sparring partner. Each time you lean into it, each time you set a boundary despite your fear, you are strengthening your psychological immune system. You are becoming harder to kill, mentally and spiritually. 18. The test of a true friendship. Some men fear that setting boundaries will cost them their friendships, and it might, but it will only cost you the friendships that were not real to begin with. A friendship that is conditional upon your constant compliance is not a friendship. It is a parasitic relationship. A true friend, a brother-in-arms, respects your autonomy. He wants what is best for you, even if it inconveniences him. When you set a boundary with a true friend, their response will be one of understanding and respect. They might be disappointed, but they will not try to manipulate you. Therefore, setting boundaries is one of the most effective tests of character you can apply to the people in your life. It filters out the users and the takers, leaving you with a smaller, but far stronger and more authentic circle of allies. 19. The language of high value. Pay attention to how people with a strong sense of self-worth communicate. They rarely use weak, uncertain language. They avoid phrases like, "I'm sorry, but," or "I feel like maybe," when stating a need or a boundary. Their language is direct and assumes equality. "I need X. My preference is Y. That won't work for me." This isn't arrogance, it's clarity. It comes from a place of knowing that your needs and preferences are just as valid as anyone else's. Start to purge apologetic language from your vocabulary when you are setting boundaries. You are not sorry for having needs. You are not sorry for protecting your time. Swap "sorry, I can't" with "I'm not available." Swap "I don't know if I can" with "I'll let you know my decision." This subtle shift in language rewires your brain and changes how others perceive you. 20. From pleaser to leader. A people pleaser cannot lead. Leadership, whether it's in a family, a company, or a community, requires the ability to make difficult decisions that will not please everyone. It requires a clear vision and the courage to uphold standards. A leader must be able to say no to good ideas in order to protect the great ones. He must be able to deliver difficult feedback. He must prioritize the health of the collective over the comfort of any single individual. These are all acts of setting boundaries. By practicing Stoic boundary setting in your personal life, you are training for leadership. You are building the muscle of conviction. You are learning to anchor yourself in principles, not in poles of public opinion. The journey from nice guy to a man of substance is the journey from a follower, desperate for a map, to a leader, capable of drawing his own. 21. The contagion of strength. When you begin to operate from a place of Stoic integrity, something interesting happens. It has a ripple effect. Your strength gives other people permission to be strong. When your colleagues see you calmly protecting your time, it may inspire them to do the same. When your children see you upholding your values even when it's hard, you are teaching them a lesson far more powerful than any lecture. People are drawn to authentic strength. While you may face initial resistance from those who benefited from your lack of boundaries, you will attract a new kind of person into your life, people who value integrity, respect, and mutual strength. You become a standard bearer. Your personal transformation doesn't just liberate you, it elevates the environment around you. You stop being a mirror reflecting the needs of others and become a lighthouse, guiding by your own steady light. 22. Detaching from the outcome. We've touched on this with the dichotomy of control, but it bears repeating because it's the master skill. When you set a boundary, your work is done. You have performed the virtuous act. You have aligned your actions with your principles. The outcome, how the other person reacts, what happens next, is not your concern. This is incredibly liberating. The nice guy is chained to the outcome. He needs a positive reaction to feel that his action was correct. The Stoic finds his sense of correctness internally. This detachment allows for incredible calm in the face of emotional storms. If the person accepts the boundary gracefully, good. If they throw a fit, that is also fine. It is simply information for you to observe. Your peace is not contingent on their reaction. This is the definition of emotional freedom. It is the ability to stand in the middle of a hurricane of someone else's emotions and remain perfectly still. 23. The boundary with yourself. Perhaps the most important boundaries you will ever set are with yourself. A commitment to self-discipline is a boundary against your own weaker impulses. When you decide to wake up at 6 a.m. to train, you are setting a boundary against the impulse to hit the snooze button. When you decide to eat clean, you are setting a boundary against the craving for junk food. When you commit to reading for 30 minutes a day, you are setting a boundary against the mindless scroll on your phone. A man who cannot say no to himself will never have the strength to say no to others. The outer world is a reflection of the inner. Master your own internal domain first. Practice small acts of self-discipline every single day. This builds the fundamental integrity and self-trust that makes all other boundaries possible. It proves to yourself that your word, especially your word to yourself, means something. 24. Recognizing manipulation tactics. To defend a fortress, you must know your enemy's tactics. Those who benefit from your lack of boundaries are often masters of subtle manipulation. The most common is the guilt trip. I can't believe you won't help me after all I've done for you. Another is attacking your character. I thought you were a kind person, but I guess you're just selfish. They might also use flattering. You're the only one who's good enough to do this. A Stoic sees these for what they are, attempts to pull an emotional lever to get a desired response. He does not engage with the manipulation. He does not defend himself against the accusation. He simply repeats the boundary. I understand your frustration, but I'm not able to do that. By refusing to play the emotional game, you render their tactics useless. You stay grounded in logic and principle while they flail in a sea of emotional blackmail. 25. The value of silence. Not every statement requires a response. Not every accusation requires a defense. The nice guy feels an overwhelming urge to fill every silence, to smooth over every moment of tension. He will rush to explain, to apologize, to justify. The Stoic understands the power of a deliberate, controlled silence. After you have stated your boundary, simply stop talking. Let the silence hang in the air. This is incredibly powerful. It forces the other person to confront your statement without the distraction of your nervous chatter. It communicates unshakable confidence. They are waiting for you to back down, to soften your stance. When you simply hold the space with a calm silence, you non-verbally communicate that your decision is final and not open for negotiation. Master the art of the comfortable silence. It is one of the most potent tools in the arsenal of a strong man. 26. Boundaries are not walls. There is a misunderstanding that a man with strong boundaries is cold, distant, and isolated. This is incorrect. A boundary is not a wall. A wall is permanent and keeps everyone out. A boundary is a gate. It is a point of controlled access. You, the gatekeeper, decide who comes in, when they come in, and how they are expected to behave within your domain. A man with healthy boundaries can be incredibly loving, generous, and deeply connected to others. In fact, he can connect more authentically because his relationships are not tainted by resentment or fear. He engages with people by choice, not by obligation. He can be fully present and give freely because he knows his own resources are protected. Strong boundaries don't prevent intimacy. They make true, respectful intimacy possible. 27. The long game. The shift from a nice guy to a stoic man of principle is not an overnight transformation. It is a process. You will make mistakes. You will occasionally revert to old patterns. You will set a boundary and then feel guilty and retract it. This is part of the training. The Stoic does not seek perfection, he seeks progress. He views his life as a work in progress, a sculpture he is constantly refining. When you stumble, do not indulge in self-criticism. Simply observe what happened. Why did you back down? What fear was triggered? Use it as data for the next attempt. The goal is to be 1% better, 1% stronger each week. This is a long game. You are not just changing a habit, you are reforging your entire identity. Be patient, be persistent, and be committed to the man you are becoming. 28. The role of journaling. To change your programming, you must first understand it. The Stoic practice of journaling is an invaluable tool for this. At the end of each day, take 10 minutes to reflect. Where did I act out of fear today? Where did I fail to set a boundary I needed? Where did I successfully hold my ground? What did it feel like? By writing it down, you move the struggle from the murky, emotional part of your brain to the logical, analytical part. You become an observer of your own patterns. You start to see the triggers and the automatic responses you've developed over years. This self-awareness is the first and most critical step. You cannot fix a machine you do not understand. Your mind is that machine. The journal is your diagnostic tool. Use it every day. 29. Physical strength as a mental anchor. There is an undeniable link between physical and mental resilience. The discipline it takes to train your body when it wants to rest is the same discipline it takes to set a boundary when you are afraid. The Stoics, like the Greek philosophers before them, understood the importance of a strong body. It is the vessel for a strong mind. When you push yourself through a difficult workout, you are teaching your mind to endure discomfort. You are proving to yourself that you are capable of doing hard things. This confidence bleeds into every other area of your life. A man who is physically capable often walks through the world with a different presence. He feels more grounded, more centered, and less easily intimidated. Your physical training is not separate from your Stoic practice. It is a fundamental part of it. 30. Choosing your mentors wisely. You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. If your inner circle is composed of other people pleasers, they will reinforce your weakness. They will validate your excuses and encourage your compliance. To change, you must change your inputs. Seek out mentors, whether in real life or through books and media, who embody Stoic principles. Study men who are strong, principled, and respected. Read Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, Epictetus. Listen to modern thinkers who talk about sovereignty and self-respect. Immerse yourself in the mindsets you wish to adopt. When you surround yourself with examples of strength, it starts to feel normal. It recalibrates your expectations for yourself. You begin to see that being a man of principle is not a strange or selfish path. It is the path of integrity. 31. The why behind the boundary. A boundary without a reason is just a rule. A boundary rooted in your core values is a principle. Before you set a significant boundary, be clear on your why. Are you protecting your time to work on a crucial project? Are you protecting your mental health from a toxic person? Are you protecting your family's evening routine? When your why is strong, your no will be firm. The nice guy often lacks a clear why for his own life. His purpose is simply to accommodate the purposes of others. A Stoic man defines his own mission. He knows what is important to him. His boundaries are not random acts of defiance. They are the logical, necessary defences around what he values most. Know your why, and you will find the courage for any no. 32. The fear of missing out. FOMO. One of the psychological hooks that keeps men in the nice guy trap is the fear of missing out. He says yes to every social invitation, every project, every request, because he's afraid of being left out. He's afraid of missing an opportunity or a connection. But the Stoic understands a deeper truth. By saying yes to everything, you are truly saying no to the things that matter most. You are saying no to deep work. You are saying no to quality time with your loved ones. You are saying no to rest and recovery. Your time and energy are finite. A strategic no is one of the most powerful tools for productivity and focus. You must be willing to miss out on trivial, low-value opportunities to create space for the high-value, essential ones. The man who tries to be everywhere is truly nowhere. 33. The simplicity of Stoic needs. The more you need from the outside world, the more leverage the outside world has over you. If you need constant praise, people can control you by withholding it. If you need luxury goods to feel worthy, you are a slave to your job and the marketplace. The Stoic actively practices simplifying his needs. He finds joy in simple things: a good book, a walk in nature, a meaningful conversation, the satisfaction of a job well done. By needing less, he becomes incredibly free. He is less susceptible to manipulation because there are fewer buttons to push. This internal freedom makes setting boundaries much easier when you don't desperately need anything from the person in front of you. Not their approval, not their money, not their invitation. You can interact with them from a position of pure, uncompromised strength. 34. Graceful exit strategies. Sometimes the most powerful boundary is simply to leave. You are not obligated to remain in a conversation that is disrespectful. You are not obligated to stay at an event that drains your soul. The nice guy feels trapped. He thinks leaving would be rude. The Stoic man respects his own sovereignty. He knows how to make a graceful exit. No drama, no long explanations. It was good seeing you all, but I have to get going. I'm going to step out for some air. This conversation is no longer productive for me, so I'm going to remove myself. Having a few go-to exit phrases in your mental toolkit is a practical way to protect yourself in real time. Your feet are your ultimate boundary. Don't be afraid to use them. 35. The concept of a fair exchange. Healthy relationships, whether personal or professional, operate on a principle of fair exchange. This doesn't mean a rigid 50-50 accounting of every interaction. It means a general sense of reciprocity and mutual respect. The nice guy dynamic is almost always an unfair exchange. He gives 80% and gets 20% back. He is the giver, the fixer, the listener. A Stoic expects a fair exchange. He is happy to give, but he also expects his needs to be considered. He observes whether there is a two-way street of support and respect. When he notices a persistent imbalance, he addresses it. He sets a boundary. I feel that I'm putting more into this friendship than I'm getting back. This is not an accusation, it's an observation. It opens the door for the dynamic to be rebalanced, or for him to make a conscious decision to invest his energy elsewhere. 36. The power of I statements. When communicating a boundary, the language you use can either escalate or de-escalate the situation. Avoid accusatory you statements like, "You are always asking too much of me." This puts the other person on the defensive. Instead, use I statements that focus on your own feelings and needs. I feel overwhelmed when I take on extra work. Or, I need some quiet time to myself in the evenings to recharge. An I statement is undeniable. No one can argue with how you feel or what you need. It shifts the conversation from a battle of accusations to a statement of your personal reality. This is a subtle but profound technique for communicating boundaries in a way that is both powerful and less likely to provoke a defensive reaction. 37. Letting go of the need to be the hero. The nice guy often suffers from a saviour complex. He feels a deep-seated need to be the hero, the one who swoops in and fixes everyone's problems. This feels noble, but it's often rooted in a need for validation. He wants to be seen as indispensable. The Stoic understands that it is disrespectful to solve problems that are not his to solve. By constantly rescuing others, you rob them of the opportunity to develop their own strength and resilience. A true act of strength is often to step back and allow someone you care about to face their own struggles, offering support but not taking over. Your role is not to carry everyone's burdens. Your role is to carry your own with dignity and to inspire others to do the same. Let go of the cape. It's heavier than you think. 38. Your time as your most valuable asset. Billionaires can't buy more time. It is the one truly level playing field. How you allocate your 24 hours each day is the single greatest indicator of your priorities and your self-respect. The nice guy treats his time like it's an infinite public resource. He gives it away to anyone who asks. The Stoic man treats his time like a king treats his gold. It is a precious, finite asset to be invested wisely, never squandered. Before you say yes to a request, ask yourself, is this the absolute best use of this irreplaceable hour of my life? Does this align with my highest purpose? When you start to value your time this highly, setting boundaries becomes not just a preference, but a logical necessity. You simply cannot afford to waste it on things that do not matter. 39. The difference between empathy and sponging. Empathy is the ability to understand and share the feelings of another. It is a noble human quality. But there is a pathology that many nice guys mistake for empathy: emotional sponging. This is when you not only understand someone's feelings, but you absorb them as your own. Your friend is anxious, so you become anxious. Your partner is angry, so you absorb their anger. This is not helpful. It's codependence. A Stoic practices empathetic understanding from a place of emotional distance. He can sit with someone in their darkness without letting the darkness consume him. This is an emotional boundary. You can be a compassionate listener and a source of support without taking on their emotional state as your own. You are a lighthouse, not a sponge. The lighthouse stands firm on the rock, illuminating the stormy sea, but it does not become the sea. 40. The cost of admission. Every relationship in your life has a cost of admission. This is the blend of compromises, annoyances, and efforts required to maintain that connection. For a healthy friendship, the cost might be occasional scheduling conflicts or listening to them talk about a hobby you don't share. The benefits, loyalty, support, shared joy, far outweigh this small cost. For a toxic relationship, the cost is much higher. Constant drama, emotional drainage, disrespect. The Stoic periodically evaluates these costs. He asks, is the benefit of this relationship still worth the price I am paying? The nice guy never asks this question. He just keeps paying, no matter how high the cost gets. A man of principle knows his limit. He knows when the cost of admission has become too high and is willing to walk away from the transaction. 41. The integrity of your word. The nice guy often makes promises he can't or doesn't want to keep, just to be agreeable in the moment. He says, I'll be there, or I can do that for you, and then either resents the commitment or flakes out later on. This erodes his integrity. People learn that his word is not solid. A Stoic man's word is his bond. He is slow to give it, but once given, he follows through. This means he is very careful about saying yes. He knows that every yes is a contract with his own honour. Because he is so selective with his commitments, his yes carries immense weight. And because his yes is so powerful, his no is respected. Building a reputation as a man whose word is ironclad is a form of boundary in itself. People will be less likely to ask frivolous things of you when they know you take every commitment seriously. 42. The circle of concern versus the circle of influence. Imagine two circles. The outer, larger circle is your circle of concern. It contains everything you care about: world politics, the economy, what other people think of you. The inner, smaller circle is your circle of influence. It contains the things you can directly affect: your actions, your attitude, your habits. The nice guy spends most of his energy in the circle of concern, worrying about things he cannot change, especially the opinions of others. The Stoic man focuses 99% of his energy on his circle of influence. He knows this is the only place where his efforts can produce results. This focus makes him incredibly effective. It also makes setting boundaries a natural byproduct. The opinions and reactions of others are in his circle of concern, not his circle of influence. Therefore, they are not the primary variable in his decision-making process. His own principles are 43. Saying no to your own negative self-talk. The external voices of criticism are often amplified by an internal one. The nice guy has a harsh inner critic that reinforces his fears. If you say no, they'll hate you. You're being selfish. You're not good enough to have boundaries. A crucial Stoic practice is to set a boundary with this inner voice. When you hear this negative self-talk, you must learn to recognize it for what it is, an old, unhelpful mental habit. You can treat it like an external entity. I hear you, fear, but you are not in charge here. Thank you for your opinion, inner critic, but I will be making my decision based on my principles. You do not have to believe every thought that pops into your head. Your consciousness is the master of your mind, not its slave. The ability to disidentify from your own negative thoughts is a profound form of self-mastery. 44. The Stoic view on status. Much of the nice guy behavior is a subconscious play for social status. He believes that by being accommodating and useful to everyone, he will rise in the social hierarchy. He craves the status of being liked. The Stoic has a radically different view of status. For him, true status is internal. It is the status of being the master of one's own mind. It is the status of living in accordance with virtue. He is indifferent to the fleeting, fickle judgments of the social crowd. This doesn't mean he is a social hermit. It means he can navigate social situations with ease because he is not playing the same game as everyone else. He is not seeking their approval, so he cannot be manipulated by it. He interacts with others on his own terms from a place of self-assured dignity. This, paradoxically, often leads to the highest form of status, respect. 45. The liberating power of I don't know. The nice guy often feels pressured to have an answer for everything, to be helpful and knowledgeable at all times. This can lead to him offering opinions he hasn't thought through, or making commitments he can't honour. A Stoic is comfortable with the phrase, I don't know. It is a statement of intellectual honesty and humility. It is a boundary against the pressure to be a know-it-all. Similarly, he is comfortable with, let me think about it. This is a boundary against the pressure to make instant decisions. By embracing a state of not knowing, you give yourself the space to think, to research, and to make a wise choice rather than a reactive one. It communicates that you are thoughtful and deliberate, not just eager to please. 46. The temporary nature of all things. The Stoics were masters of perspective. They constantly reminded themselves of the vastness of time and space to shrink their personal problems down to a manageable size. This practice is called the view from above. When you are agonizing over setting a boundary, fearing the potential fallout, try this. Imagine yourself looking down on your life from a great height. See how small your current conflict is in the grand scheme of things. Remind yourself that in 100 years, none of this will matter. The emotions you are feeling, the other person's anger, it is all temporary. This perspective doesn't make you callous. It makes you calm. It gives you the courage to do what is right, knowing that the emotional turbulence of this moment is just a passing cloud in the vast sky of existence. 47. Your legacy. A man of convenience or a man of conviction. At the end of your life, how do you want to be remembered? Do you want your epitaph to read, he was a nice guy who never made any waves and always did what was asked of him? Or would you prefer it to read, he was a good man who lived by his principles, stood for something, and was respected for his integrity? The nice guy path leads to a legacy of convenience. You were convenient for others. The Stoic path leads to a legacy of conviction. You stood for something. Every time you choose to set a boundary, you are casting a vote for the second option. You are actively building the legacy you will one day leave behind. Thinking about your life in these ultimate terms can provide powerful motivation to overcome the short-term fears that hold you back. 48. The myth of the one. big transformation. Men often fall into the trap of waiting for a single cinematic moment of change. They imagine one big confrontation where they finally stand up for themselves and everything is different afterward. This is a fantasy. The real transformation from nice guy to a man of integrity is not one giant leap. It is 1,000 small steps. It's the small no to an extra task at work. It's holding eye contact for 1 second longer. It's pausing before you answer a text. These micro acts of courage are the daily reps that build your character muscle. Don't wait for a dramatic showdown. Start where you are with the next small opportunity to choose principle over comfort. The accumulation of these small wins is what creates an unstoppable momentum of change. 49. The role of forgiveness for others. As you become stronger and more aware, you may start to feel anger toward the people who have taken advantage of your niceness in the past. It's easy to label them as manipulators or users. The Stoic path encourages a more dispassionate view. As Seneca said, they do not harm you unless you judge that you are harmed. People operate from their own level of consciousness. They were not taking advantage of you. They were simply pushing against a boundary that did not exist. They were acting in their own perceived self-interest, and you were allowing it. Forgiving them is not about letting them off the hook. It is about releasing yourself from the poison of old resentments. You set boundaries now not to punish them for the past, but to create a healthier present and future for yourself. Forgiveness is a pragmatic act of self-liberation. 50. Generosity from a full cup. A man with strong boundaries is not a stingy man. In fact, he is often the most genuinely generous. Why? Because his giving is a conscious choice, not a desperate plea for approval. He gives from a place of abundance, not scarcity. Think of it like a cup of water. The nice guy's cup is always half empty because he lets everyone take a sip. His giving is tinged with the bitterness of resentment. The Stoic man protects his cup. He keeps it full. Then, when he chooses to give, he can pour freely and generously without depleting himself. His gift is pure. He gives because he wants to, and he expects nothing in return. This is the difference between compulsive giving and conscious generosity. One weakens you, the other strengthens you and the recipient. 51. Boundaries with technology. In the modern world, one of the most significant battlegrounds for your attention is your phone. Notifications, emails, and social media are constant, relentless bids for your time and energy. A man without technological boundaries is constantly reactive, his focus fragmented by the whims of 1,000 digital masters. The Stoic applies his principles here as well. He sets firm boundaries. He turns off non-essential notifications. He designates specific times for checking email. He is the master of his technology, not the other way around. This practice of a digital discipline builds the same mental muscle as setting interpersonal boundaries. It is an act of declaring that you are the sovereign of your own attention. This reclaimed focus will have a massive positive impact on your work, your relationships, and your peace of mind. 52. The Stoic indifference. The Stoics divided the world into 3 categories: good, virtue; bad, vice; and indifferent, everything else. Things like health, wealth, reputation, and pain are all indifference. This doesn't mean you don't care about them. It means they have no bearing on your moral worth or your capacity for happiness. The nice guy treats a preferred indifferent, like being liked, as if it were a good. He sacrifices his virtue, his integrity, to gain it. This is a catastrophic error in judgment. The Stoic prefers to be liked, but he is indifferent to it. He will not trade an ounce of his character for a pound of public approval. Understanding this hierarchy of values is crucial. It gives you a clear framework for making decisions. If an action requires you to compromise your virtue, the answer is always no, no matter what preferred indifferent is being offered in exchange. 53. The feedback loop of respect. Self-respect and external respect are locked in a feedback loop. When you act with self-respect, by setting a boundary, for example, you signal your value to others. They, in turn, are more likely to treat you with respect. This external validation then reinforces your internal sense of self-respect, making it easier to set the next boundary. The opposite is also true. When you fail to respect yourself, others pick up on that signal and treat you accordingly, which then damages your self-respect further, creating a downward spiral. Your job is to initiate the upward spiral. It takes a significant act of will to make that first move, to set that first difficult boundary. But once you do, the loop begins to work in your favour. Each act of courage makes the next one easier. 54. The art of asking for what you want. The nice guy is not only bad at saying no, he's also bad at saying what he actually wants. He hints. He hopes people will read his mind. He doesn't want to be a bother by directly stating his needs. This is a recipe for frustration. A Stoic man practices clarity and directness. He has the courage to ask for the raise, to ask for the date, to ask for help when he needs it. He understands that asking is not a guarantee of receiving. The outcome is not in his control, but the act of asking, of stating his desires clearly and respectfully, is within his control. It is an act of self-worth. He is saying, my needs are valid and worthy of being voiced. Whether the answer is yes or no, he has won by having the integrity to ask. 55. The end of complaining. Complaining is the anthem of the victim. It is the noise someone makes when they feel powerless over their circumstances. The nice guy who is filled with resentment often becomes a chronic complainer, bemoaning how unfair the world is and how people take advantage of him. The Stoic sees complaining as a waste of energy and an abdication of responsibility. If a situation is within your control, don't complain. Act. If a situation is outside of your control, don't complain. Accept it. When you set strong boundaries, you eliminate most of the reasons to complain. You are no longer a passive victim of other people's demands. You are an active agent in your own life. You replace the weakness of complaining with the strength of decisive action and serene acceptance. 56. What if you're wrong? A valid question. What if you set a boundary and later realize it was a mistake? What if you were too rigid or unfair? The nice guy is terrified of this possibility, which is why he avoids setting boundaries in the first place. The Stoic is not afraid of being wrong. His goal is not to be infallible. It is to act with wisdom and justice based on the information he has. If he gets new information that shows his boundary was unjust, he has the strength of character to admit his mistake and adjust. He can say, I've thought more about our conversation, and I believe I was too rigid. I apologize. Let's find a better solution. This is not weakness, it is the ultimate strength. It is the sign of a man committed to truth and justice, not to his own ego. The fear of being wrong is an ego trap. Don't fall for it. 57. The paradox of vulnerability. The nice guy hides his true self behind a mask of agreeableness. He is terrified of showing any authentic emotion or need for fear it will be rejected. This isn't strength, it's a brittle defense. True Stoic strength includes the capacity for appropriate vulnerability. It is the courage to state a need, to admit a fault, to share a genuine emotion with a trusted person. This is different from emotional dumping or complaining. It is a controlled, deliberate act of sharing your authentic self. A man with strong boundaries can afford to be vulnerable because he trusts himself to handle any outcome. He knows his self-worth isn't on the line. Paradoxically, this authentic vulnerability builds deeper and more powerful connections than a lifetime of people-pleasing ever could. 58. The good man versus the nice guy. We have come full circle. It is time to replace the old flawed ideal with a new one. The goal is not to become a jerk or an alpha. The goal is to become a good man. A nice guy is weak. He is agreeable because he is afraid. His actions are dictated by his need for external validation. A good man is strong. He is kind by choice. His actions are dictated by his internal principles. A nice guy avoids conflict. A good man is not afraid of necessary conflict because he values truth and justice over comfort. A nice guy seeks to be liked. A good man seeks to be respected, first by himself and then by others. This is the transformation you are undertaking. You are shedding the skin of the nice guy to reveal the steel of the good man beneath. 59. The freedom of being an acquired taste. A man who tries to be liked by everyone is, in essence, trying to be vanilla. He sands down all his interesting edges, suppresses his unique opinions, and hides his true character to be as bland and inoffensive as possible. The result is that he is not truly loved by anyone. He is merely tolerated. A Stoic man of principle accepts, and even embraces, the fact that he is an acquired taste. He knows that his commitment to his values will attract some people and repel others, and he is perfectly fine with that. He is not looking for the validation of the masses. He is looking for the respect of the few who share his commitment to integrity. The freedom of not needing to be universally liked is one of the greatest freedoms a man can achieve. It allows you to be unapologetically, authentically yourself. 60. The first step is the hardest. We have covered a vast amount of ground. The theory is now clear, but theory without action is useless. The path forward is simple but not easy. Your task now is to take one small, concrete step in the next 24 hours. Identify one area where you have been too agreeable. One small no that you need to say. It could be to a social invitation you don't want to accept. It could be to a colleague's request to help with their work. It could simply be the act of not answering a non-urgent text message immediately. The size of the act does not matter. What matters is the decision to break the pattern. This single small act of courage is the first stone laid in the foundation of your inner citadel. It is the beginning of everything. Do not just think about it. Do it. So, what is the hidden cost of being nice? It is your life. The unlived life. The life where your own goals, your own peace, your own principles are perpetually sacrificed at the altar of someone else's approval. The Stoic path is not about becoming unfeeling or unkind. It is about reclaiming ownership of your own soul. It is about building a strength so deep and so unshakable that your kindness becomes a genuine gift, not a desperate transaction. The ultimate takeaway is this: true power is not found in the approval of others, but in the unwavering respect you hold for yourself. That respect is earned, moment by moment, with every boundary you set and every principle you uphold. You have the blueprint now. You are part of an elite few who understand this. The rest is up to you. Thank you for investing your most valuable asset, your time, with us today. If this resonated, subscribe for more content that respects your intelligence. Now, for the final question in the comments, what is the first small boundary you will set in the next 24 hours? Acknowledge it, commit to it,